It's a cold, rain-soaked evening somewhere in 14th century England. The roads are thick with mud, the light fading fast, and the only thing a weary traveler wants is shelter, a warm fire, a bowl of stew, and a place to sleep. In the distance, a glow appears. A wooden sign creaks in the wind, swinging above a doorway painted with a tankard and a horse's head. The air smells of smoke, ale, and wet straw. You've arrived at the village tavern, the domain of one of the most important and often overlooked figures of medieval life, the innkeeper. He is part businessman, part host, part gossip, and part survivor. His inn is a crossroads, where travelers, traders, pilgrims, and thieves all meet under one smoky roof. Today we'll step inside his world to discover what life was really like for a medieval innkeeper, from dawn until long past midnight. The heart of the village. In a time before hotels, the medieval inn was the beating heart of every town. Roads were rough, journeys long, and villages far apart. So inns and taverns were essential, places to rest, eat, trade news, and sometimes even plot revolutions. The innkeeper, or hoste as he was called, was both a merchant and a master of chaos. He brewed ale, cooked food, rented beds, and kept order among the travelers who stumbled in from the road. He lived at the intersection of every story, soldier, merchant, monk, outlaw, and pilgrim, all passing through his door. Dawn, the innkeeper's day, begins before the sun rises. The innkeeper is already awake. The embers in the hearth are stirred back to life, and the smell of smoke fills the air. The stable boy tends to the horses while the innkeeper checks his barrels. The ale must be ready for the day's first customers. In many medieval villages, ale was safer to drink than water, so everyone, men, women, and children, drank it daily. The innkeeper brewed his own ale or bought it from local alewives, often women who made drink in their cottages. He tested the brew with experience and instinct. Cloudy, slightly sour, thick with yeast, the sign of a strong, hearty drink. By dawn, the first travelers arrive, merchants bringing wool, pilgrims on the road to Canterbury, or messengers from the Lord's manor. They're tired, cold, and hungry. The innkeeper greets them with a nod and a jug of ale. Hospitality is part of his business, but so is profit. The morning meal. Breakfast in a medieval inn is simple but satisfying. Thick slices of brown bread, perhaps some cheese, maybe a bit of bacon or dried fish. If you're lucky, the innkeeper might have a pot of pottage simmering, a stew of grains, onions, and herbs, reheated from the night before. He doesn't cook for luxury, he cooks for survival. Nothing is wasted. The kitchen smells of smoke and grease. The iron pot never truly cools. It holds a permanent stew, changing ingredients day by day as scraps are added and broth thickens. The innkeeper's wife, if he has one, manages the cooking in the rooms. She's tough, practical, and usually sharper than her husband when it comes to business. Together, they keep the inn running like a small kingdom. Midday, the business of hospitality. By noon, the common room is alive. The fire burns bright in the hearth, filling the air with warmth and smoke. Patrons sit on benches around rough wooden tables, their voices blending into a roar of laughter, arguments, and songs. The innkeeper moves constantly, refilling jugs, carving meat, settling debts, and breaking up quarrels. Coins clink on the table. Dogs fight for scraps underfoot. The smell of ale and sweat is thick in the air. Every traveler pays for what they get, though not always in money. Some pay in goods, some in labor, some in promises. The innkeeper must know who to trust and who to watch, because an inn is more than just a tavern. It's a stage for human nature. Deals are struck, secrets whispered, and sometimes crimes planned. The innkeeper hears it all and knows better than to repeat most of it. The characters who come and go. Over the years, the innkeeper sees every type of traveler imaginable. There are pilgrims, walking for weeks toward holy shrines, poor, tired, but full of stories. They pray in one corner and gossip in another, telling tales of relics and miracles. Then there are merchants, boasting of their profits, drinking too much, and complaining about tolls and thieves. Soldiers arrive now and then, loud, dangerous, quick to anger. They gamble, fight, and sometimes leave without paying. And there are outlaws too, hiding under hoods, watching quietly from the corner. The innkeeper recognizes them, but he says nothing. After all, silver spends the same no matter who brings it. In a world without police or news, the inn is the place where rumors are born and history begins. As the sun rises high, the innkeeper becomes a merchant. He buys grain, sells ale, and negotiates prices. He must manage his stock, barrels of beer, sacks of flour, and smoked meat hanging in the rafters. Everything is counted, weighed, and rationed carefully. A good innkeeper knows that one spoiled barrel or rotten loaf can ruin his reputation. He also trades in information. News from travelers of war, plague, or royal decrees spreads from his common room faster than any messenger could carry it. In a way, the innkeeper is also a journalist of his time, recording the whispers of the road. Evening, the roar of the tavern. As night falls, the inn transforms. The lamps are lit, the ale flows freely, and music fills the room. A minstrel strums his lute by the fire. Men stomp their boots in rhythm. The laughter is loud, the jokes crude, and the air thick with pipe smoke. This is when the innkeeper earns and risks the most. Coins pass quickly from hand to hand. Bets are made, dice roll across the tables. Arguments flare. Sometimes knives flash. The innkeeper must keep order, strong enough to be respected, but not feared. He knows how to read a room, when to pour another drink, when to call for quiet, when to throw a man out the door. And if things get out of hand, his wife or servant might reach for the wooden club kept behind the counter. The guests upstairs above the noise of the common room, the inn's guests sleep, or try to. The rooms are small, dark, and drafty. Beds are shared by strangers, and privacy is a luxury few can afford. A bed might mean a straw mattress, a wool blanket, and a pillow filled with hay. For cheaper travelers, the floor will do, or the stable. The innkeeper provides no luxury, only rest. But in a world of endless roads and cold nights, that's more than enough. The dark side of the trade. Not every inn was honest. Some were dens of thieves. There were inns where travelers were drugged, robbed, or worse, their bodies buried in the woods behind the stables. Because the innkeeper lived at the edge of law and survival. He dealt with soldiers, smugglers, and drifters. He had to be tough, smart, and cautious. One wrong choice could ruin him. Yet even the best inns had dangers. Fires were constant. A single spark from the hearth could burn the entire building to ash. Drunken fights broke out nightly, and disease spread quickly through shared rooms and dirty cups. Still, people came, because travel was impossible without him, the innkeeper's family and staff. Most inns were family-run. The innkeeper's wife brewed, cooked, and managed the accounts. Children fetched water, cleaned tables, and helped tend the animals. Servants worked long hours, scrubbing floors, feeding guests, and sleeping where they could. The stable boy often doubled as messenger, errand runner, and sometimes thief. It was hard work, but it kept the family alive. And for all its chaos, the inn was a source of pride, a symbol of welcome in a harsh world. The law and the church. The innkeeper lived under constant watch. Local lords taxed his ale and his beds. Churchmen visited to ensure he wasn't serving meat on fast days or allowing immoral behavior. He could be fined for watered-down ale, accused of overcharging, or even imprisoned for serving during forbidden hours. But the same officials who punished him also relied on him. For food, for lodging, for a drink on the road. It was a delicate balance between sin and service. The innkeeper knew how to smile, nod, and survive. Midnight, when the fire dies. When the last guest stumbles to bed and the fire burns low, the innkeeper finally sits. His hands are stained with ale, his eyes heavy with fatigue. He counts the day's coins, locking them in a wooden chest beneath the counter. The room is quiet now. Only the crackle of the dying fire and the snores of sleeping travelers fill the air. He takes a final drink, his own brew, warm and bitter, and stares into the embers. Tomorrow it will begin again. The barrels will be tapped, the stew will bubble, the road will bring more strangers. And he, the humble innkeeper, will welcome them all. Not as a friend, not as a foe, but as a man who knows that the road never ends, and neither does his work. The legacy of the innkeeper. When we think of the Middle Ages, we imagine kings and knights, battles and castles. But the innkeeper lived in the world between them all, where ordinary life happened. His tavern was the meeting place of history, where rumors became news, where deals were made, and where stories began. Every cup of ale, every warm bed, every whispered secret was part of the medieval tapestry. And without men and women like him, the world of travelers, merchants, and pilgrims would have simply stopped. He's seen it all. He knows every story, and for the right price, he might just tell you one.